All right, have Jay Kim here. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is Kelley Kronenberg's Rising Leader Committee speaker series starting for our new year with our new executive board. I'm happy to chair this year. Jason Silver here with an awesome board with us. And this is our speaker series for this year. And Jay Kim is our first great speaker. And he's a commercial litigator. I'll let him introduce himself. He's here in South Florida, specifically in Fort Lauderdale. He's a super bar leader as well, a bar leader, a community leader with a number of organizations. So we're thrilled you're with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Right. Jay, just to start out, can you introduce yourself for us? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course, and I apologize if you can hear that. We're no longer in a tower, so it's closer to the noise. So I'm a commercial litigator. I've been in Fort Lauderdale since 2005. It's already been 17 years. We have a firm called Kim Von Lerner here, and I know we have lots of friends at Kelley Kronenberg. We do commercial litigation, employment litigation, insurance defense, and we've been kind of, our firm prides itself on doing not only the legal work, but community involvement, pro bono. We've been involved in various local organizations, local bars, Broward County Bar, Broward Hispanic Lawyers, and of course, I'm involved with the Florida Bar as well. I'm on the Board of Governors. There are 5 representatives in Broward County in the 17th Circuit, and I happen to be up for election. The election is only going to be for another couple of days. It ends on March 21st. It's great work, but it's a lot of work. And sometimes, you have to juggle a lot of things to get it done. But I really enjoy all of it, practice, bar involvement. And I think I share that sentiment with everybody at my firm as well.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. Can you, stepping back, can you tell us we have a lot of young lawyers here at the firm, people just even starting out, some just out of law school, really passing the bar or clerking. What inspired you or led you to go to law school when you went and where'd you go?
You're going way back. Unlike a lot of people, I didn't know I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 6. I wasn't carrying briefcases in kindergarten or anything like that. I was told to go to law school starting in college, and I've always resisted it, never really was interested. I was an economics major. I wanted to do business. I was doing banking regulation after college. And when it came to kind of my next stage, I was actually thinking about a business education. And I thought, well, JD is probably as good as an MBA for business background, usefulness, etc. I went to law school thinking that I was going to get a broad legal background to do business, more business. But then, things happen in law school. You take classes that get you interested. The first thing that got me really interested was evidence. And if you said you're going to go to law school and become a lawyer and then become a litigator, I would have said no way. Yeah. But evidence is one of those things that kind of turns on the light bulb, at least for me. And that's kind of like what set my path in litigation and then commercial litigation specifically because of the business,
awesome.
I guess.
Very cool. Yeah, I remember those feelings. Let me ask you this. So you passed the bar. Were you always doing commercial litigation from the beginning, or?
I was, yeah. Okay. I was from the beginning. I was kind of, I don't know. I guess it was just one of those things. I randomly fell into it. The firms that I worked with were doing that even during my summer clerkships. And that's kind of where I stayed. And because of my background before in business, I guess it was natural. And I've always liked the area and the accounting concepts, financial concepts, and things like that. So I never shied away from it, never really looked for a lot of different things other than that.
That makes sense. So pivoting to the leadership and community involvement, again, keeping in mind we have a lot of members of our Rising Leaders Committee and lawyers overall, and a very supportive firm that supports leadership and community involvement around the state and the country. Yeah. Where did that begin for you? Because it's not easy to become a board of governors. Where did your leadership and involvement begin and how?
Yeah, that's an excellent question because a lot of young lawyers wonder where they're going to actually be able to carve out the time to do all this. I guess it started, I was at a big firm in Miami, Steele, Hector and Davis. Many people might remember that. It's Squire Patton Boggs now. And they had a very supportive environment for bar work, pro bono work. And one of the things that I was able to do was when I was probably a second or third year lawyer, we were starting to look around at the various voluntary bars. And we realized that there was no organization to represent the Asian American lawyers. And so at that point is when we started to form what became the Asian Pacific American Bar Association of South Florida. We had to scrape together the minimum number we needed. It's an affiliate of a national organization called NAPABA, the National Asian Pacific American Bar. And we got the number together in South Florida, which at the time we thought would be easy, but it was actually a challenge. And we got the minimum number, and that kind of got the ball rolling. Once we established that bar presence, the South Florida bars were very welcoming, very supportive. And it's that community network and support that kind of underscores the need for this infrastructure. And we were included in some very, very significant events right off the bat with the Dade County Bar, the Cuban American Bar Association. And so that started the I guess, idea of community and bar involvement. And then a few years later, so I was the first founding president of APABA. And then a few years later, after I came to Fort Lauderdale, when I started the firm, I met then Board of Governors member, current former bar president, Jesse Diner, in another city, not in Fort Lauderdale. Just happened to run into him, and we had met each other in different capacities before. And he asked me if I was interested in grievance committees. Jason, I know you're familiar with grievance committees because you serve on one yourself. And I said, sure, of course, I'm interested. And the next thing I know, I was being appointed to a grievance committee. And that is the first time I had involvement in the Florida Bar. And then that leads to committee work. It leads to section work. It leads to substantive chairmanships, chairwomanships, chairpersonships. And you kind of understand where the bar's work fits into the greater fabric of practice of law. So
wow,
it's a long roundabout way, yeah, but that's how I got involved.
That's interesting, and that was your first. The grievance committee was your first formal involvement. You were very instrumental in me allowing to serve on that grievance committee for 3 years, and
yeah,
I say to everyone, that was the most humbling, impactful experience I've had. It's such a serious role. So that's very interesting. That's really cool. So, with that being said, in your journey of really creating a bar association that's really become very successful, great and big, the different things. And in your hindsight now, your perspective as someone on the board of governors and a leader around the state, what advice do you have now in today's legal climate for young lawyers, or not even young lawyers, but lawyers who want to start getting involved? Where should they start and how?
I think you start locally. First of all, that's where a lot of the work is done. At the bar level, we're talking a lot of policy. We're trying to support our members, the lawyers' practices in general. Of course, the bar has a function in consumer protection and discipline, but where the real work is getting done, where you're recognizing the efforts of the judiciary, that's all happening at the local level. So to the extent that a local bar is out there that you have an interest in, join the bar. And of course, don't just join the bar, you have to be involved. So having a resume line is not what this is all about. Everybody knows that. And I'm sure most people who are ultimately going to be agents of change are not there just for a resume line anyway. So get substantively involved, whatever the bar association is, join their their particular sections or subcommittees that you're interested in and do the work, go to the meetings, show up, go to the events, start to get your name out there and being recognized for what you do. And it kind of starts to take a life of its own. Eventually, you'll be like, what have I created? You know, what is this thing that I've started here? Because all of a sudden, people will be reaching out to say, ask you to join additional groups. Because there's an old saying, what do you do if you want to get something done? You give it to a busy person, because there's a reason they're busy. You know, so you're going to get calls all the time once you get involved for you to do additional more work.
Yeah, I remember that feeling. And then still now, yeah, that's funny. Oh yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. So let me ask you this, pivoting back, to the practice and your active role. Sometimes people who are very involved maybe are not as active in significant litigation. You're very busy in federal and state courts and civil litigation, something that is most of what Kelley Kronenberg does. From your perspective as a leader in the community and someone interacting with judges and policy boards, etc., what issues are you seeing and hearing that may stand out to you now going on, and even in South Florida, from the litigator's perspective, that need to be addressed or out there?
Yeah, so putting aside the concept that we've been dealing with now for 2 years in terms of COVID and the need for remote hearings, et cetera, which, by the way, is not all bad, because as we've all seen, these types of interactions work very well in certain circumstances. I know many lawyers who never want to see another in-person motion calendar, and there are good reasons for that. But aside from those issues, I think right now what's happening is that there's been a movement by many Supreme Court groups to revamp a lot of what we do. And so I don't know if it's common knowledge, but there is a work group out there. It's called the Work Group on the Improved Resolution of Civil Cases. And they have a very, very comprehensive overhaul of the entire rules of civil procedure. I mean, really comprehensive overhaul. It's game-changing stuff there. And it's still in the infancy in terms of any type of rule changes, and the Supreme Court is soliciting comments from the bar now. But these are rule changes that, if you ask any trial judge, they are not happy with it, because the concepts are great, but it doesn't come with funding. It doesn't come with staffing. And a lot of the things that are happening are attempts to move cases forward very quickly, kind of like federal court. But of course, the federal courts have a quarter of the caseload with triple, of the support. And so it's easier for the federal courts to do. And so that's just one example. There are many changes that are maybe coming, and lawyers need to understand what they are so that they can provide valuable practice-oriented comments as to whether those are good ideas or not. The ideas are probably very good. It just has to be accompanied by things like support, funding, additional infrastructure, and proper ways of implementing it. That's just one. I heard that another concept these days is a decline in overall professionalism. And perhaps that is a function of these virtual appearances. I'm not sure. I don't think that people appearing on camera in bed is necessarily what they're talking about, although I'm sure that's a prime example. But I think people just not behaving in the most professional way, even if they are not in bed in a full suit, ready for trial or for court. Maybe the attitudes are a little bit more relaxed these days. And I think the bar, the judiciary, we are looking at that because it is a concern overall. It doesn't help our image. It certainly doesn't help our mental health to be dealing with unprofessional behavior day in and day out. And so, these are broader concepts, I think, but you asked what I'm seeing, and those are the couple of big picture things that I'm seeing right now.
Absolutely. I saw that in a hearing recently where a judge wasn't happy with a lawyer who was not even dressed at all for a case. And it wasn't a big deal, but the judge asked him, hey, what's going on? And so that's an example. And we just had a talk this morning with leader litigators here that we're very happy with motion counter, especially being on Zoom, and how efficient it's made our jobs. And I think it trickles down to the clients and for motion counter. I know trials are different. You said something recent just a few minutes ago about mental health and even physical health now with COVID. I know you had a very involved role past couple of years with how the bar responded, and feel free to talk about that. But with the bigger emphasis, really the past few years from the Board of Governors and the Florida Bar on mental health overall, that sort of thing, which has been really great. For you, what do you do in your daily life to help manage the stresses of life and practice? And what tips do you have for us other lawyers, us busy lawyers juggling a lot of things?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm the best example because, listen, I try to eat well and I try to drink a lot of water and I try to exercise, but I'm not getting a lot of I guess what's called me time, because there are only a certain number of hours in the day, and so I know that exercise is important, and I think that's really number one. We have to make sure that we are able to get out there and stay physically fit. You don't need to be running marathons, but I think that you need to have some scheduled time where you are devoting, time to physical health, even if it's just taking walks every night. We have to make sure that we're not just sitting here behind our desks the entire time. And then of course it's so easy for us to just grab a burger and fries every meal, and that is probably not the way to do it. And watch the sugar intake, watch the soda intake. I think water is something that I try to have as much of. I forget, and that's something. These are not natural things for me. I have to kind of remember to do these things. But I think overall, long term, there is a difference in doing those things.
Absolutely, I read it. There was a recent article of a person in his 90s who did the Miami half marathon a few weeks ago. And he was a trial lawyer for many years. I think he said at one point in this Miami Herald article that helped him with his practice, being physically active, and still going in his 90s. It was incredible.
Well, what's great about lawyers is that they actually know how to, if they actually put their minds to something, they know how to plan for it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
They're organized and they know how to implement something like that. And so, that doesn't surprise me that a trial lawyer would do something like that, right? They're certainly capable of planning that.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me ask you this. One last question, then, of anything else that you want to add. What, in your opinion, from your experience all these years, you've worked with everyone around the state in South Florida, what makes a good leader overall? And any characteristics?
Oh, I would think that a good leader is somebody who listens a lot versus saying what they think that people want to hear. I think they need to be listening a lot about the concerns of the constituency, and every leader has some policy goal, and they may have a something that they want, an objective that they want to achieve, and those are all very good, and of course those objectives should be done in light of what that leader is hearing as well. But in reaching and progressing towards any objective, they need to be continuously listening to the feedback from the people that objective is going to ultimately affect. So, also hopefully leadership and listening will lead to collaboration with the people that you're trying to get support from and to ultimately help. And so, listening leads to, I believe, collaboration and inclusion. And so I think that those would be some good qualities for leadership.
Well, that's great. Anything else you'd like to add today? Obviously, we're so appreciative of your time.
Yeah.
Everyone's busy. It's middle of the week or end of the week, but
I really appreciate this opportunity. I think that this is an excellent idea, and kudos to Kelley Kronenberg for having something like this. And I know that this firm is doing so much in the community. You guys are, very visible and always involved, and so just continue to do what you all do. Thanks for all the support that you give to the community and to the legal profession in general, and also enabling the lawyers at the firm to go out there and actually get involved and make a difference and do what we do best, which is to solve problems.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks so much, Jay Kim. Also, remember to vote in Florida bar elections.
Not too many days left.
Yeah, just a few days left.
Monday the 21st is the deadline.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
hey,
Lawyers are notorious for not doing things quickly, so let's not push that to the end.
Yeah, that's right. And ballots were emailed to you to your Florida bar email. So,
Right.
Yeah, hey, Jay, you're awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for everything you do and the sacrifices of time. A lot of people don't know. It is you do a lot for us. So we appreciate it. You and everyone be well, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, Jason.
With that, I'll turn off the record button.